Hello and welcome back to another takedown. Today we'll be taking apart the Ruger LCP. It's a 380 auto, small pocket carry or concealed carry handgun. Great for civilian concealed carry or as a backup firearm. It's reasonably accurate for its size. I mean, you're not doing long distance shooting with this thing. And you're not taking this thing out for a fun weekend of shooting because the small size and lightweight, which is I believe 10 ounces when it is unloaded, unfortunately will deliver a little more pressure to your hands when you're firing. It's not, I would say, unbearable. It's not really even uncomfortable. It's just more than you would get than if you were shooting a larger sized handgun, which absorbs more of the recoil. But this thing, again, isn't designed to be taken out as a plinker. It's designed as a concealed carry, my life is in danger kind of pistol. So, usually to get a Ruger pistol apart, there's an extractor spring you got to push down. Not in this case, actually. This disassembly does require a tool of some sort, whether it be a Phillips head or a flathead screwdriver or a knife or anything that's flat you can fit under this pin. Go ahead and pull it back just a bit so you can release a little bit of pressure on this pin on the left side, and you should be able to pull the pin right out, right here. Once you pull that pin out, you should be able to just push the slide forward as pretty standard. Set your frame aside, and on the inside you will see your recoil spring, which we will push forward and pull out just like you normally do, and your barrel, which is the same. Push forward, pull out. So now we're completely apart. A few things to note on this particular handgun is this area right here where the hammer hits the firing pin and pushes it forward to hit the primer. Right back here, if you're doing pocket carry a lot, you're going to get a lot of lint in here. So it doesn't hurt to take it apart and clean all the lint out of there. Will a little bit of lint affect the actual performance of the handgun? Usually not. Usually it's not too much of an issue. But why take the chance? Same story on this side. On the hammer or under the hammer, you will occasionally see lint build up. Go ahead and just get that out with a Q-tip. Usually gets it out pretty easily. There's not really a whole lot to oil on the frame itself. Similar story with the actual slide. A little bit of oil to help it glide, not a lot. Check for any damages or malfunctions. I haven't heard of any problems, but inspection is part of cleaning. Again, if you do have a pocket carry, you can end up with lint in the barrel, which you don't want. Easy enough to clean out, same way. This is just one of the side effects of having a handgun that is in a tight location and commonly carried with you, is that it will get lint, and regular maintenance is something you have to worry about. Put the barrel back in the same way you took it out, in reverse. Push the spring forward on the recoil spring, guide rod, line it right up. Say this is probably once you get this pin out, this is probably one of the easier handguns to take apart. Go ahead and slide the slide back onto the frame, and then you should be able to relatively easily get this pin back in. Once you push it in about that far, just pull back the slide just a hair to get the pressure off of the barrel and the recoil spring, and you will be able to push that pin right in like it's nothing. Again, make sure she cycles properly, doesn't come off the front, which it shouldn't and won't. You can, as usual, dry fire most Ruger handguns. Make sure it sounds good. I don't like to dry fire a lot, but after a takedown and a cleaning, it doesn't hurt, especially if you go any deeper than we went today. These do come with you can get these with like a Crimson Tracer laser, because the sights on here are not what I would call big. They're barely there at all, which is just part of the design. You can get a laser, but I personally found that unless you're someplace dark, the laser is not terribly visible. And you have to be careful with your holster as well, because if you have a holster that's pressing on the button, it will drain your battery. And I don't know, I'm not a big fan personally of having anything electronic on a firearm. Simply put, batteries die. I mean, like a flashlight or something is fine, but yeah, anything that you need to aim with that requires batteries, I'm not a huge fan of. Obviously, does not come with a Picatinny rail on the front. It's small, it's compact. If you're shooting more than 10-15 yards with this thing, you are probably doing it wrong. Not that you wouldn't hit something at that distance with this particular firearm, but you're pushing the limits pretty far. So that's the Ruger LCP, one of my personal favorites. The LC9 did add like a magazine disconnect safety and a few other things, which I'm personally not a huge fan of the magazine disconnect safety, but that's my preferences. So another neat little thing about this one is if you look right here, in between the extractor and the actual chamber, you'll see that there's a very slight gap. You can actually use that to look to see if there is a round in the chamber without having to rack the slide, which is ideal in my book. It's nice, it's flush, it's easy to see. The only problem I have ever had with this particular handgun is that loading the first round is problematic. I don't have snap caps, so we have a live magazine, and this is usually something I don't do, but I am proving a point here. We are safe in that direction. There is nothing over there. There are no people. There's walls, then more walls, then more walls, and a hill. So we are no danger in that direction, just to be clear. And of course our camera tripod, but I'm not too concerned about that. So, loaded magazine. Push it into the magazine well. Pull back. See that? It failed to properly load the round. And I've had a lot of people complain about this. You can usually push it forward and it will chamber the round. It never has given me any problems firing. Every time I've fired, no problem. That first round loaded in doesn't always load well for me. I'm not sure if Ruger fixed this at some point, or if it's something that only a small number of these handguns experience. It's not a deal breaker for me. I mean, realistically, if I was in a real dangerous situation, it would probably be I would end up hitting it harder anyway. In fact, I think I found that if you don't baby it as much, you just, yeah, there we go. So, yeah, if you're gently loading the first round, you may find that it gets stuck on the round, and you'll have to either push it forward or pull it back and push it or let it go close itself, or you will not have the problem. Again, it's not a deal breaker in my book. It's not ideal, and I don't even know if it's everybody or just me. So, something to look out for. Maybe a question to ask. It's still a great concealed carry handgun. I use it. I've used it in my show well stock bolt before. We never had an issue. So yeah, check it out. It's usually pretty cheap. As I should say, cheap. inexpensive. It's usually a fairly inexpensive handgun. I mean, you can get a Jimenez or something like that, 380 auto, that is going to really be uncomfortable and be really inaccurate and really poor quality. These are pretty comfortable. I like the space for your thumb, the place for your finger. Again, just to confirm, we are unloaded. Space for your finger. There's no chance of slide bite, which you can occasionally get. That's when the slide comes back and it cuts your the webbing here on your hand, which you really do not want. So anyway, that's your takedown and quick review of the Ruger LCP, a small concealable handgun, and we'll be continuing with the Ruger P95 next time.